We're back. We're back. Hey, we're back. back. I'm a dancer. Like it's one of my lives.
Yeah,
I'm like
a dancer. Maybe.
Like I just want to be like, hold up, how you even?
Yeah, I think that life might be over.
I'm trying to swing my hair
back and forth.
Dance with me. You're supposed to back me up.
I'm a wallflower.
You need to.
I'm supposed to be. Yeah,
you get into the game.
That's just.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, everybody! Welcome back. It is the kickoff of season 2 of With My Gwen. And we are excited to be here. I am here with my boo, everybody's favorite coach, Alfonso D. Jones the second. Welcome back, babe. It's season 2.
It's good to be back.
Look.
I feel so honored to be on your kickoff session for season 2.
And look, we have a new set. And it's so beautiful and it's so comfortable. I hope y'all like it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
We worked very hard on this set.
Oh my goodness. Did we ever?
Yes.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Because we went through the struggle.
Teamwork produces some nightmares as well.
Yes. And you know what? That just brings us into our topic. Because why are we looking like money today with all this money green?
Wow.
Tell the people.
It's Do You Know?
Hey, and I was ready. It's our anniversary.
It's our anniversary.
Hey.
20 years.
Oh, I thought we were going to keep singing.
Yeah, that was
okay,
good.
Go ahead. We're good. I was really okay.
So 20th anniversary, 20th wedding anniversary, 20 years.
20 years is crazy, bro.
Of matrimony. That's a long time. It's a long time. It's a long
I ain't gonna say it feels like just yesterday, but it don't feel like 20.
No, it doesn't feel like 20.
Like,
but it does feel like a long time.
Wild. We have an 18-year-old. It's going to be 19 this year.
A 16-year-old.
A 16-year-old is going to be 17 this year.
And an 8-year-old.
The dog. I was like, whoa, slow.
Wait a minute, you don't count the dog. Wait a minute.
Yeah, the dog.
That's your dog.
I had to listen. I'm not trying to add no children, okay?
Absolutely. We're done.
So, Lord, you never tell the Lord what you're going to do and what you're not going to do.
We make our request known. God knows.
Yes, sir. Okay. But 20 years, and we are here to talk about when we were in marriage counseling 10 years ago. You remember Reverend Bullock?
Say a name.
Oh, I shouldn't be calling names.
It's okay. There could be multiple. Wow.
I'm cutting it already.
Welcome to season 2.
Welcome. Okay. But what did he say? What did he say in marriage counseling? Babe, was you paying attention?
I remember, I just remember the voice change. That's the
okay. Go ahead and do it because I knew you was going to do it. Go ahead.
One thing I remember 3 words that all start with V, but he came in talking like Vim, vigor, and Vim something vigor. And I was like, what? So he was talking to us on the way in, and then he says, well, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and pray. So we all bowed our heads, and then all of a sudden we heard this, dear God, I just want to thank you. I said, what?
You are cutting up right now.
And it went from kind little old black man to Darth Vader. Just like that. But
Darth Vader is wild. You don't actually like Darth, but that's wild. But babe, what did he say?
That's what he said. Those 3 words. Okay, tell me. This is what happens.
Because you got to pay attention in premarital.
20 years. Tell me what you remember.
Marriage is a garden.
Did he say that?
He did.
Okay, he said that. That's what he said.
That's about all I got out of it.
We go all the way back. Hello.
Which is why we are marriage mentors to this day, because we would love to be what we didn't have for others, right? So, we made it through marriage counseling, and that was my takeaway. I'm sure he said so much more that was super helpful, but my takeaway was marriage is a garden, and you have to tend to it. And it's basically what you put in is what you get out.
Very much so.
And that was a word.
That was a word.
Because, hey.
Go for it, dear. This podcast is going to be great, by the way. No.
I just wish you would. What?
No, I want you to finish that statement. Go for it.
No, because you're making faces and I done forgot what I was going to say. So what is it?
It is a garden. Marriage is a garden. But I feel like she got that gardening reference from somewhere else, and it was not in counseling. But it's okay.
Where I got the reference.
It's okay, but the reference came, and that's what's important. And I'm so grateful.
It literally came from marriage counseling.
Amen.
You know what?
Amen.
This is Alfonso and Gwendolyn Jones uncut raw, okay? Because you cutting up today. And we're not even 5 minutes in. Please behave.
Amen. Marriage is a garden. It needs tending to. And that's what we're here for today, is to share our story, what we learned from these 20 years of marriage. And we dated for 2 years.
We did. We dated for 2 years. Do you want to tell our origin story?
I think I should let you tell it so I can interject. So you can get out the passion.
I remember it vividly, like it was yesterday. Like it was like 30 minutes ago. I remember.
30 minutes. Okay, go for it.
Because we were all on the praise team. Y'all, I'm going to just tell y'all the story. I'm going to talk to y'all, okay? Because I can't be distracted by his faces. We were on the praise team together. Little known secret, is out now. So, I was on the praise team.
Okay, thank you. There you go.
By myself. This was my church. And
this is my group.
These are my people. And I loved it so much. So, I was in college, and that was the church I went to. And are we shouting out?
Just be free.
Shout out, Bishop
Tip.
We love you. And so we were there, and him and Miss Trina were literally like our parents. That was our home away from home. We loved them so much. So I was kind of doing my church thing because I'm a church girl. So I was just at church. I was at school. I was asleep. I was at church. And then there was an occasional, appearance at a club or two. But that was life for me. But I'm going to tell you one thing. I was at the club, but I was at church the next day with the unique sense of the club and everything that came.
Praising God. Leading people in worship.
I wasn't leading. I was a backup singer.
You led.
That one song.
Thank you. You may go ahead with your story.
That one song.
But you led, right?
I did.
Okay. Amen.
So, minding my business, we are maybe at choir rehearsal. And here comes this tall, dark, chocolate, handsome guy walking in.
Church service.
Okay, do you want to tell the story?
No, I'm just going to make sure I kind of navigate and guide.
It was a church service?
When you first saw me.
When you walked in and came on stage, like, you have been rehearsing with us for the last 2 years?
Yeah, you hear that anger and aggression in her voice?
I mean, he really just walked up on the stage. And I was like, well, who is he? First of all, my point is the girls went wild. And it was kind of crazy. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not finna be your groupie. That's what I'm not going to do, is ever be your groupie. And then after, there was a choir practice then. And after rehearsal, no, we were waiting for rehearsal. And you came in from work, and you were so pitiful. You was like, oh, my gosh, I'm so tired. And I was like, what's wrong with you? Like, what is your deal? And you was like, I'm so tired. Like, the day was so long. Like, woe is me. Like, that's the energy you had. And I was just like, it's gonna be fine. Like, you're fine. Everything's fine. Like, let's just rehearse. And so we got through rehearsal, and then I really felt bad for you after rehearsal. Like, the Lord laid you on my heart.
It was the Lord.
The Lord himself laid you on my heart, and he led me to draw you this little froggy, because when I had bad days and anxiety, I would draw a frog. I had pretty bad test anxiety. So I would draw a little froggy on my test, and the frog means fully rely on God. So I was just really trying to bless you and pass that message on to you.
I respect that.
And then I really think you took it to heart. And then you was just in love with me. And you was like, oh my God, I think I love you. And I was like, I like you a lot too. That's great. Because it had been like 2 weeks, and y'all, he was like head over heels in love. It was crazy.
Side note, anyone who's listening to this podcast in this moment, I need you to make sure that you go to the YouTube channel and watch this video. Okay? I'm just saying, it's very important that you watch the video as well as listen. Okay? Play.
Oh.
So you can see these faces.
Yes.
Right now.
I forgot our listeners. So I mean that's it. Period. But I mean you brought me some chili. I remember you brought me some of your mommy's chili, which was delicious. So you was doing a charmy thing, and then because I wasn't really studying you, but then you kind of kept being persistent, and so then I kind of was like, you know what? Maybe I'll give this guy a chance.
Wow.
What's your version?
You know, I don't know if my version matters. What matters is that we're here together now.
So we going with mine? Tell your story, babe. Tell your story.
I'm kind of fine with that. You know, that I fell in love with you and that you were so against dating me.
Yeah,
you know,
I was not.
It was.
You had too many fans.
One of her best friends. One of her best friends.
Oh my God. They met my bud in the finale. Go back and watch season 1 finale. My bud, she's in there.
Okay, yeah, remember that. See,
Thank you, bud.
So her friend told her that she was tripping and that she need to be with me.
Okay.
Yeah, in so many uncertain terms.
She did.
Yeah,
she was right. That's what she said.
She didn't share that part of the story.
I did.
So you know, that's why you just gotta be good. Men, if you're listening to this.
Not a shout out to not a word of
sometimes silence is golden. Duct tape is silver, but silence is golden. Sometimes you just
duct tape. Why is the duct tape reference in there?
You know, I just felt like I need to throw that in there just for comic relief. So we're here now. It was quite a journey. She didn't want to date me, but she ended up dating me. Of course, I'm one that I'm kind of certain when I see something that I want. I know I want it, and then I go for it, and that's what happened. And she was kind of enamored and a little thrown off by the fact that I was very sure of what I wanted in Gwendolyn Bass at that time. So, and yeah, that's how it went. We dated for 2 years, and then it was time for the engagement.
Ooh. Yeah, tell that story.
I'll tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
So I always love surprising her. And so we picked out the rings. We picked out the rings already. And I wanted to go ahead and get the ring for her already. And so we had already picked them out. I was on the way in town. So what I did, I went ahead and stopped and picked up the rings. But we were supposed to go back and get them together, or her bud was supposed to get the rings. So I picked the ring. I was going to take her out to where we first had our first public display of what we were dating and kind of proposed to her there. So I went and picked the rings. I told the guy at the counter, I said, look, somebody's going to come and try to pick up these rings. So I just need you to be prepared. Not only are they going to pick the rings, but they're probably going to get pretty upset with you. Because I knew that it was going to be her and her bud. And so I just warned him.
We were taking them off.
I just warned him that it could get ugly. So he was fine with it. So I pick up the rings. They, however, go ahead and go to the mall to get the rings as well, to find out that the rings aren't there. So she's calling. They go fuss at the guy. She calls me and is like, do you know what they did? They done sold our rings. I love those rings.
I was crying, y'all. He let me cry. Can you believe that? Oh. Yeah,
so I picked her up. I was like, look, let's just go get something to eat. We'll figure it out. So I'm taking her. We're going to Red Lobster because that's where we first.
We went to Golden Corral. Our first date was at Golden Corral.
Our first date was at Golden Corral, but when we first had our display of affection. Remember, we were at Red Lobster, and somebody was like, "Hey, sit by me." And who did I sit by? I sat by you.
We're not going back there.
We're not.
That's a bit much.
See how these stories? See, that's why silence is golden. But they always remember. They always remember. So I was driving Red Lobster. Got to the stoplight. She started crying, and I was like, "Lord, do I hold it?
I was so upset.
Or do I go ahead and do it?" So got the Red Lobster. I asked her, I said, "No, listen, have I ever let you down?"
I remember that. And then what you did?
She was like, "Well, no." Then I pulled the ring out and said, "I haven't let you down now. Here's
Don't y'all be like, oh, you better not be saying,
oh." Pause. They're saying it. And her response to that was, her first response was, "You let me cry."
Exactly. And then what did I do?
And then she said, "I don't want it."
I gave you that ring back. Now, I ain't never take it. I said, you can hold on to that. I'm not ready yet.
Yeah. So she said, "I don't want it." And she would let me.
You leaving out all the dramatics, because I'm here for the drama. Okay.
I tend to focus on like the major points.
You do.
So we can get to the.
But I threw a fit. I was like, I don't want to eat. I want to go home. I don't want to go out. I don't want to be here. Like, I was like, and you were like, "Dang, how did you even get me in the restaurant?" Like, I was pretty set on not going.
We walked into the restaurant.
I was so upset.
So we sat there and ate our garlic cheddar biscuits. And
wish I had one right now.
And then, of course, by the end of the meal, she was like,
I was like, "Okay, I'm ready now."
Yeah.
Ring me. I'm ready.
Yes.
And the rest is history. And that is what it was. So, okay, that was our story. Now y'all know how we met. Our humble beginnings. Yep. And it's crazy because I was so mad about the ring. But, like, looking back now, it's like, bruh, that was like light work. Why was I so mad that the rings was gone? What am I crying for? We did search a long time for her.
We did.
But it's just what was like highest priority and top.
We were different people back then.
Oh my God.
You were a different person back then.
How was I?
Different.
He's a man of few words. He chooses his words very carefully.
I do. It's intentional. But even as it relates to marriage, as we develop from the seedlings of the young people that we were into who we are now, we are able to identify things that were important, more important, less important. The things that we've been through have seasoned us.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you get tough over a amount of time, and not necessarily always in a bad way, but things that would tear you apart.
Yeah.
At year -1, at year 16, 17, you're like, okay.
Yeah. What we really fight about that.
Exactly.
It's so true, because this is a perfect time to talk about how we evolve and change, because
Absolutely.
We took the love languages. If you have not heard of the 5 love languages, I think his name is Dr. Gary Chapman. And he had a co-author, but there's a quiz you can take, and I will put it in the notes and show notes so that you can take it, because we took the quiz. Now, this is kind of our thing: assessments, quizzes. He's actually discertified,
Yeah, I love assessments.
Coach. So this is our thing. But we like to kind of check in, see where we are, check with our marriage. And we really believe that, assessments are a great way to do that, in addition to talking to each other, things of that nature. So we took the 5 love language quiz, and we're going to tell you what our love languages are. But I have a surprise.
Surprise.
You're not going to believe this, okay? You are not. I'm so excited. I found my love language profile from 2020.
Wow. Okay.
So
2020.
2020. So it's of course 2025 now. We got married in 2005. 2004. I'm terrible with dates.
No, it was 5. It was 5.
It was weird because it was like
it's 25.
January, February, March, April thing.
05 is right. That's
okay.
Right.
I got
You
it.
got it right.
Thank you.
You got it right.
It's usually me, but it was you this time. And I was, when we got married, gosh, I had literally just graduated. So was I 21? 22? Just turned 22? 21.
That's your responsibility. No, it was.
I might have been 22.
I was 25.
Yes, so I was 20. That's right. So that means I was 22 then. So just keep that in mind to put things in context. So you will need that later. But back to this love language. So in 2020, which is just 5 years ago, my top love language was quality time.
It's interesting.
So, yeah, right?
Yeah.
And
because it's not now.
You just gonna spoiler alert? Like, what was that?
And people want to know. They're like, "Why are you telling me? Why is she saying that?"
So when we took it this time, my love language was acts of service. I was kind of shocked because I thought it was gonna be okay. So the 4 languages are quality time, acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation, and receiving gifts. And I mean, I do kind of like gifts, but I'm not really. Ain't really my thing.
Right.
Just because I had a little shopping problem, I kind of buy what I want. But I do like a little surprise. Like, I'm grateful for a little surprise every now and again. But yeah, so it is now acts of service. And it just goes to show that my needs shifted. So now I'm like, I still love to cuddle. I still need my attention because I did not get married to be alone. That's my line.
That's your line.
That is my line. But it's like, bro, I need help.
Yeah. Sure.
But I mean, it was just, we were just in a different season. And at that time, my needs were different than what they are now. So what is yours?
So mine was, I don't know what year it was, right. But I do know that my love language started out being words of affirmation.
Yeah, I remember that.
and now they are, my love language is quality time. Keep dropping that phone.
I know.
Mine is quality time now. So again, it's
so your quality time and I'm acts of service.
Right. But it just goes to show the need to check in in marriage. It's so vital. It's such an important element because a lot of times we get married to a person and we say, you know what? I love this person. I love the 2025 version of Gwen. This is the woman that I married. This is the woman that I learned. This is the woman that I studied and came to understand. And now, since I know her, this Gwen is now forever plastered in my mind, right? But the truth of the matter is that Gwen 2025 is not the same Gwen that I married in 2005. And it's a problem when you don't realize that your spouse, your significant other, changes and evolves over time.
That's a word.
Because if you still have that same mindset, I would have still been, okay, this is quality time. And she's like,
get up and do something.
I don't need anything. This anymore. I don't need this anymore.
Help.
So, but then I'm looking like, wait a minute, you know that this is what you are. But this is, again, that's why check-ins are so necessary in marriage, because people change and they evolve. And as a married couple, you have to be willing, able, and aware of the fact that evolution is a part of that marriage.
Mm-hmm. I like to call that grace for growth.
Love it.
Because we can be married to the version of the person that we married.
Yep, very much so.
And that is dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Because first of all, you're not giving your spouse any room to grow and evolve. You're holding them hostage.
Yeah.
And you're not acknowledging the current needs.
Yeah.
And all of that is a recipe for disaster. And we can talk about, we calling them weeds and wildflowers, right? Because you have weeds, and we're going to get into that, when you think about a weed, it's something that is uninvited, but it grows, and if it's not caught early and cut at the root, it will overtake everything in your garden in such a way that it'll choke the life out of
your flowers,
the garden that you cultivated and planted. So the flowers that you want cannot grow, they cannot bloom, and they might die because the weeds are consuming so much of the garden, and they're taking all of the nutrients out of the soil.
Very much so.
Come on, biology 101.
You better be
I better. So that's a whole thing. So when we talk about these weeds, what are some of the marital weeds?
So I feel like a weed would be comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So you have couples going to marriage with these quote unquote relationship goals.
Oh.
Which is not a bad thing.
No.
However, if your goals are strongly aligned with someone else's relationship and how they did it,
on that, sir.
Yeah, you are honestly setting yourself up to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you don't know what's happening behind the scenes.
No.
You don't know if it's real. You don't know if it fits your background or your
design.
You don't know. So now you're setting this picture up to say, okay, this is what we have to do. This is what we have to be. And if we're not that, then we're not a successful married couple.
Defining the success of your own relationship by somebody else's relationship.
Yeah, and it can be devastating. And
that is why we're calling them weeds, but these are actually marriage killers.
They are.
The quickest way to kill your marriage is to compare your spouse to someone else. And then, especially when we get in a comparison, we tend to hyper focus on that other person. So when you're focused on, this is what I see, this is what I want, this is what I'm duplicating, all you see is what your spouse is not doing. You can't see anything, or you're not like so-and-so, or you're not like such and such, or they don't do that, or they don't do this.
Yeah.
You don't know their story. And you might know their story, but 9 times out of 10, you don't. And you don't know their process.
Yeah.
So sometimes what you see, because I'm not one that's going to say it might not, it's all bad. It might be just as great as what you see. And it might be a worthy example. But people like to skip the process.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you see here was a 20-year-long process. And we always tell our couples, we got to lengthen the time now. Because we used to say 5 years ago. But it's like...
Oh, wow. We didn't even like each other 5 years ago.
Right. We always tell them, like, what you see now, let's just be real. Like, we just started figuring this thing out. 10 years ago, I would say 10 is fair.
10 is fair.
Life was hard. Life was really hard. We were confused. We were trying to find our way. Like, we went through a lot to get to this emerald anniversary. I forgot to tell you, that's why we're looking like money green, because this is our emerald anniversary for 20 years. But, man, it was hard. And the work that we had to put in to even just see the next day, much less the next year. So especially when you have what we're going to call wildflowers. That is these kind of unknowns that just pop up. Things you can't control, things that's nobody's fault. Like the birth of your children. Wildflower. Or, money was fine and, I lost my job, or insurance just went up $400. Now we can't make ends meet. Wildflower.
Yep.
You know, and those things change the game. And they bring out versions of you that your spouse might not have seen had the circumstances never changed.
Very much so.
I remember when we were having financial difficulty early on in our marriage, and it was them daggone kids. We had our kids in private school, and when I tell you private school was like a second mortgage, or was it even daycare?
It was
Daycare, and then private school daycare was high. It was so high. And like, I mean, I had just come from college. So, I mean, I worked, but I had like work study jobs. I didn't really have no bills. Let's just be honest. We didn't even mention that we got pregnant, 3 months?
Yeah. Well, it was in July we got pregnant.
So
how many months that was?
April, May, June,
it was like
July.
5 months.
4
or 5
We got married in April. Well, we got married in January. 4 or 5 months. But we did not have, we had a honeymoon. That's about it.
Yep, and that very next, by our anniversary, by the next year, we were preparing for our kids, preparing for our first child. So, and we went into a marriage, from a relationship into a marriage where it was flowing with milk and honey. We were the land of milk and honey. Mm-hmm. Money was never an issue.
Never.
We didn't have to worry about it.
This is like, listen.
Come on now.
Don't
do that.
Alfonso Jones II.
Anyway, we didn't have to worry about a lot. So,
no. Like, we made ends meet. Like, we bought all of our furniture. I remember, I bought the furniture, you put the down payment on the house. Like, we just had money. And then we didn't.
And just like that.
And the stress of that.
And not to mention, we had never experienced a stress like that.
Yeah.
It's new territory.
Mm-hmm.
So now,
we were just going out to dinner, going to movies, vacationing. We did.
And we want, sure did. So it was one of those things where we're going into new territory, uncharted. And to be honest, it was one of those things where, looking back on it now, as we went into those territories, not knowing what to do, trying to do the best we could, that's where, for us, and I would recommend for any married couple, that's when it's probably time to start seeking some wise counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we were one where we're like, okay, we can't handle this. How are we going to do it? What are we going to do?
We try to figure it out on our own. And what goes on in the house stays in the house.
Stays in the house. Yep.
We had these belief systems.
Yep.
That had been handed down. That were generational. And in some respects, cultural. And we just thought we had to figure it out on our own. Like,
that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make it work.
Exposing what was going on in our home, exposing, each other.
Yeah.
Was not the move. It was seen as I felt like disrespectful. Like, and we suffered. Like that, what needless pains we bear.
Sing that.
Don't do me. You sing it. You're the songbird. But I mean, it was real. And not only did we have the financial stress, we had the stress of parenting. You gotta remember, we got this kid. We didn't know what was going on. Yeah. I remember we were in the car and you were like, hey, when's the last time you had your cycle? And I was like, oh, you know what? I actually don't know. And we went to Walgreens right then. And I remember crying profusely when I found out, because yet again, we had a plan.
Yeah.
So,
we were trying to do 5 years.
We wanted to wait 5 years. And then, thank God, because God knew, like, God.
Didn't he?
Yes, I'm so glad that God knew. But, yeah, we had a plan. Our things didn't go as planned. And now we're in a situation that we don't know what to do with. So, and we're trying to figure it out on our own. So we got the blind leading the blind. And we are coping the best way that we can. And it's draining the life out of our marriage. Like, I remember being so mad. I remember being like, you know what? This ain't it. Like, I did not sign up for this. I did not ask for this. I mean, like the stress of it and just trying to figure out, and then like how we both manage, like our personality styles really came out. Like, you're the processor, I'm the doer. I'm like, hey, what is the plan? What are we going to do? What are we going to do it? We can work this. Let's just plow through it and figure it out. And you're like, I just need to think about it. And I want to pray about it. And I'm like, that's amazing. Day 1, day 2, day 3, you still praying about it? What we doing? And I mean, so it really brought out our personalities.
It did.
And our differences. Because in that honeymoon phase, you don't see the difference. We were so much alike.
Very much so.
We were like, oh my God, we are just alike. We got everything in common. We like this together. We like that together. We always want to be together. And then it was kind of like, we are different as night as day, because we just hadn't gotten to a place where we needed to know what your process was like, how you process things, how I handled things, how, you know, I didn't even realize like my need for safety and security.
Right.
And how, so when we were financially unstable, it was really messing with, you know, me feeling secure in the marriage. And so it was just so much stuff that was uncovered and revealed.
So with that being said, if I could pin it, it's one of the questions where you have to ask yourself as you're entering into marriage, how do you operate under pressure and stress?
Find that out early.
Identify a time when you have been under pressure in life, in work, in school. How do you process? How do you feel? What type of things do you do? Do you pull back? Do you lash out? These are questions that you have to identify, because, to be honest, in the honeymoon stage, you will find refuge and solace in each other.
Yeah.
As we're getting up to that phase. But then when you really lock in, and now what has been outside has come inside. Now you have to identify, wait a minute, you used to be the person that I could look to when I was stressed. Now you are stressing me. How do I handle that?
And when it goes untreated or untended to or uncared for, you become the enemy.
Very much so. So these are the type of questions that we have to ask and even be able to have conversations about.
And have them early. You have to know yourself, and you have to know your harm.
Yes.
So you have to know yourself as far as, these are my traits. This is my personality. These are my likes. These are my dislikes. These are my needs. But you have to know your harm. Like, when I feel like I'm wounded, I will mark you as unsafe.
Yeah.
And I'm pulling away.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's just what I know. And I remember growing up, there were points of disconnection between my mom and I, when I, you know, I don't know, didn't follow a rule or did something, or when I felt like I was in trouble, she would kind of shut down, disconnect. So I didn't even realize that I had brought that into the marriage. So when you kind of upset me, I was like, I'm done. I'm not talking to you. And I can talk to you because I can hold a grudge. One thing about me, Lord, deliver me, but I will hold a grudge. God knows I will. And I'm working on it, because I really don't want to do that anymore. But it's the way that I feel like, it's the way I protect myself, right? So it's like, remember, you can't forget, remember. But at the same time, when you're not aware of that, that can be a marriage killer.
Yeah.
See, yeah.
And then it goes also hand in hand with family of origin. So even in moments like that, so I'll talk about me. Let me put myself out first. I've never seen my parents argue before.
Never?
I don't think no. As growing up. Now, so with that being said, going into marriage, now, on the other hand, your family they take conflict head on. Like, so it was like,
we're gonna talk about it now.
This is what we battling it out. We slugging it out if necessary. Not really. But so as it relates to, so now we're married and this stress comes up, this tension comes up. I'm not arguing because I'm like, let's just chill. And here she comes with, no, we're gonna, this is you, what you think? I'm like, wait a minute, chill. So now she's pulling away, and I in return am pulling away as well.
It was the worst.
So now there's a distance between us because we're handling things how we've handled things.
What we've seen
our whole life. What we've seen in our families of origin.
That's a word.
So when we come into moments like that and we're talking about conflict and stress, how are you as a couple going to make a cognizant decision to handle those conflicting moments? Are we going to sit down? Are we going to have a conversation about it?
Yeah.
Are we going to write down our thoughts and let each other read them? How are we going to handle that?
Yes.
These are things that are necessary so that when it happens, you won't have to make that decision. Our pastor always says,
make the decision before you have to make the decision.
You said it wrong.
No, I said it right.
She can have it. You want it.
Make a decision before you have to make the decision. Okay. We can ask him.
Yeah, okay, sure. Let me paraphrase it. Make the decision before the decision has to be made.
That's it, though. That's it.
Okay. I still love you.
I mean, that wasn't the right way, but that was a great summary.
Thank you. So these are things that are so important, and oftentimes we skip over.
Yeah.
Because we're so in love. We so in love. We love you so much.
Listen.
But we have to make those.
What's love got to do with it?
That's very much so. So we have to make those. We have to have those difficult conversations and have a framework in place. So when this happens, we automatically know, hey, it's time to have that conversation.
It's time. And we can't run away. We have to stick together. I remember it was so bad. It was so bad. And I remember telling God that day that, you know what, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to let money ruin our marriage. Yes. I remember I just prayed and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to leave this man, not over $1. This is a good man. We have a decent life. These financial problems are just really overshadowing everything. And I remember that day, I was like, no, we're going to do what we got to do to get through this. But we're not finna divorce over money.
That's right. That's right.
And I mean, whatever we got to go through. But also, man, those moments are, and I mean, this is kind of what we call the trauma of marriage.
Yeah. Or
what I call the trauma of marriage, right? You're dealing with weeds. You're trying to get rid of the weeds, but you don't know how to get rid of them. So you're also dealing with the stuff from your family of origin. And then on top of all of that, now you got your wildflowers coming in. And the wild, just random occurrences are kind of adding more stress. That whole when it rains, it pours. And sometimes these things are compiled. And now you're coping, but I don't know how you're coping. You both are in survival mode. So, you're dealing with burnout, you're dealing with compassion fatigue, you're dealing with so much. And you both are just trying to survive. And you lose the life that you once had. And so it's important, man, to just really know yourself and know your harm. That's so much. That's some valuable wisdom that we could give you from 20 years. The other thing I would say from 20 years is, in the same vein, is adjust and repair. Mm-hmm. Some people say, what is it after 20 years? What do you think is the thing that kept y'all together? Adjusting and repairing is my answer.
Very much so.
Because you have to be willing to, when these random occurrences happen, okay, this is where we are now. I have to kind of adjust. And then whatever damage I have done, we have to repair. Mm-hmm. I mean, it took a while for us to really undo a lot of the damage that we did early on in our marriage.
Very much.
Like there was a lot of trauma there for so many reasons. I mean, we had trauma with our belief systems around religion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we met at the church. We're both church babies. Church is like all we know. But what happens when you don't know where the boundaries are, or you don't know where to draw the line, or you don't know when, okay, how can I be here for my family and also be as involved, like, because the season changed when we had kids.
Mm-hmm.
We've always done church together, which is a blessing I do not take for granted. I meant to tell you that because that's so many don't have that. My parents didn't have that growing up. I know one of my mom's prayers and hopes was that my dad would come to church, and he actually did start coming to church. But like that's something I don't take for granted. But when you don't have boundaries around that, when you got to be there every time the door is open because that's what you were taught, that's what you know, and you feel like you are in some sort of sin by not, so you end up choosing church. And I say church and religion because it's not God, it's church and religion and the practice of such things over your family. And you don't even know that you're doing it.
Yeah.
So that gets into what are your belief systems? What are some of your next marriage killer? What are your unspoken rules? Unspoken rules. That is something that nobody tells you about. And we come into marriage with so many unspoken rules. Can you remember any of yours? I should have asked you in advance so you can think of some. And you don't know that it's an unspoken rule until somebody crosses the line.
I know. So
you don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Until you know.
I think one that you had for me. So on my end, my mom did all the grocery shopping, all the like. So
she's a phenomenal woman.
She is phenomenally. So I remember I don't know if it was a hurricane or what, and you were coming like, we're not going to prepare for the hurricane.
Oh yeah.
We're not going to.
We just don't start?
We're not going to get any eggs and milk, and I'm like, you ain't got it. Like, what's the problem?
And I'm looking like, really trying to be right.
Yes. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? So those are some of they were. I can look back at them now and laugh. However,
it was a serious situation.
In the moment, it was like, what are you mad for? Go get some eggs and milk.
Because you went to work.
I went to work.
You went to work and you provided the money is in the account.
Go get the eggs and milk.
Go get what you need. And I'm like, this shouldn't be just solely my responsibility. And what was deeper than that, though, the unspoken rule for me, another marriage killer. We just gonna stop with the weeds because. But another marriage killer is gender roles.
Yeah.
Gender roles. So when I was growing up, like my dad, that was really just his personality. So he didn't say I love you a lot. He wasn't really a cuddler, but he was a provider and he was a doer. So he would do all of these acts of service and he provided this like security that you just didn't have to worry about a thing. So there was never, car was never out of oil. Tires were not flat. Like, light bulbs were fixed. Sinks were repaired. So, and I mean, sometimes he actually liked to go grocery shopping. It was kind of weird. He would come home with food all the time. But sometimes if there was danger or a storm, he would come home with food. Like he was just really that one that was just present. That was his way of showing love, was by providing. So, and safety. And when it's a storm and you don't provide or the safety, or you're not going out to make sure we're okay, like it's life and death for me. Like this is you don't love me status.
Very much so.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's nothing that you did wrong. It's because My father did not tell me that he loved me verbally. He showed me he loved me by his actions. So to me, love equals doing. It's not hearing, it's action and doing. So literally, I'm going to the farthest extreme. I mean, to the point that I really, in my mind, believe you don't love me. You can't love me because there's no groceries in the house, or the car accidentally, something happened to the car, or the tires need to be changed. Like, I really had to work on it. That was an unspoken rule that this was your job. And that was like a lot because it was so deeply ingrained. And you were the one that came home and said, I love you every day. You were the one that, kissed me before you left and go to work every day. Mad, happy, sad. You still, you actually demonstrated love, but I just didn't understand that.
Very much so.
And it took a while before I could even really receive it or respect it. I mean, when I tell y'all we went through.
Yeah.
With these unspoken rules, these gender roles. You remember when we first got married and I was trying to be the good little wife and wash the clothes, and I threw all your Chick-fil-A ties in the washing machine? I was like, I'm going to wash your clothes. I threw all his good clothes. Matter of fact, I didn't separate them or nothing. I like to get stuff done. I'm pretty efficient. All the ties, the white shirts, the pink shirts, the red shirts. Mm-hmm. That was an adventure. I ain't never washed clothes again.
Yeah, I say, he
wash his own clothes. We all wash our own clothes. He taught the children to wash their clothes. Yeah. Everybody washes their own clothes here, but it's funny. So it's just like the things that. But I came in with the mindset that that's what I was supposed to do, but that just wasn't my thing. So be mindful of gender roles. We decided that we were going to work in our strengths.
Very much so.
And that has really worked for us. Like, if I'm not good at washing clothes, and that's okay. If that's what he's good at, I mean, he's treating the little collars, he's spraying stuff and rubbing it all together before he wash it. I mean, the process is long, but his clothes be white and crisp. Okay. I am going to take my clothes to the cleaners, or we're just going to throw the things that we can throw together, and we're going to get this one load done. Because what we're not going to do is be washing clothes all day long. So just be so mindful, because those gender roles can really sneak in, and society almost teaches us that due to your gender, you have to play a certain role. And that really messes with, expectations and unspoken rules. It's just not safe.
Yeah.
It's not safe. So the next one that we have is silence. Silence.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable.
I'm actually pretty comfortable with silence. But the silence, when we talked about this a little bit, but I just wanted to touch on it, because silence, we don't mean in a way where you're just meditating or you're just sitting together and relaxing. I'm talking about that silence where I'm upset and I'm not talking to you, and I'm getting a volcano is building. And the only time that you hear from me is when my volcano erupts. So I'm kissing you every day. I'm fixing your plate every day. I'm cooking dinner every day. And suddenly, I go off. And you like, what is wrong with you?
Very much so.
I love my pillow. I know you can't really see this pillow, but what it says is exploding with anger, screaming, stopping, tantrums, arguing. But it says, this is what it's on top. The behaviors we can see and the behaviors that you don't see. And some of those are loneliness, insecurity, frustration, embarrassment, worry, jealousy, overwhelm, threaten, anxiety. So we're feeling all of these things, but we're not saying anything. And the silence is what's killing us. Because we're not, either don't feel safe enough to share our truth, or are not at a place where emotionally where we can be vulnerable enough to share that side of us with our spouse. Talk about silence, babe. I know you got words. You want to hold the pillow?
I don't.
You really be translating.
So silence can be good. However, it depends on what it is coupled with.
All right now.
Silence coupled with anger can fester, and it can produce bacteria, and again become that marriage killer, because now when that type silence is present, this is such a cliche term. I'm just going to use it for lack of a better term. It's like the devil's playground.
And that's real. That's perfect.
Because now your partner doesn't know what you're thinking, doesn't know why you're thinking. Mm-hmm. They can make assumptions on why you're thinking it. Mm-hmm. And if the assumption is wrong, now they've had too much time to ponder on the wrong thing.
Wow.
So now the actions that they in turn choose to exhibit may help or harm the situation. And now it just builds up. It builds up, builds up, builds up. So that's why silence can be so detrimental. Now, granted, if you're using silence in a way, because you know what, right now, what I'm about to say or what I would say would not be edifying. So I need to pull back, and I'm using silence in that way. I think that is a beautiful thing.
For a while.
And it has to, talk about silence, but it has to be communicated. Like we have to communicate, you know what, the reason why I'm not saying anything is da 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 da. But just to pull back and be silent and let the devil have his way, or let just your mind run wild, it never works out in your favor on either side. So it is very important to be able to communicate the emotion, because in turn it's counterintuitive where I'm silent because I want you to figure out what's going on. And if you don't figure out what's going on through my silence, then I'm going to get even madder. And I'm going to get madder and madder as the day goes by until you figure it out. Because you know why? Because you married me, because you knew me. And if you know me, you can look at my eyes and tell me what I'm thinking.
Listen, guys, look at me. Let me just get close. Hey, guys. My reading is not a thing in marriage, okay? It is not a thing. In 2025, let's just stop with the games. Let's stop with the mind reading. Everybody read the book, His Needs, Her Needs, and men are from Venus. What is it? And men are from Mars. Women are from Venus. Because we are very different. And ladies, all due respect, so respectfully, they really don't know all the time. They don't know. And they're not going to figure it out unless you tell them. They literally, I remember the moment when I was like, he really is confused. Like, he really don't know. He's not trying to be funny. Like, he can't guess. Mm-hmm. He really doesn't know.
Very much so.
So, assumption is like another marriage killer. Like, do not assume. Do not assume. I don't assume nothing. I'm like, hey, this is what I want. This is what I need. I am so clear. Because there was so many years when I was just like, and people think it could come across as bossy or overbearing for those outside of our marriage. But at the same time, no, there was so many years when I was like, why don't you know? You should know. And then I'm mad because you don't know. Like, I'm mad because of the thing that you didn't do. But then I'm mad because you don't know to do it. And then, I mean, it just keeps spiraling. When I could have just told you.
And just eliminated all the stressors.
And it is frustrating when you have to kind of just tell. Sometimes you're like, I don't want to. Like, I really just want you to know that. You know, so I want to honor that. But if they don't know, they just don't know. And you have to be taught and you have to learn these things. And so don't assume. Don't assume. I'll say use your silence wisely. Maybe.
Yes.
Choose your silence. And be mindful of gender roles.
As much as an oxymoron as this is, communicate your silence.
And if you are silent, come back and finish the conversation. Because if you don't come back, then trust could be lost. So make sure you come back. So, I mean, that is what we're calling the process of marriage. You know, we got the trauma, we got the process, and during the process of marriage, you really are cultivating growth.
You are.
Like those hard times, it was so bad. But I feel like that's why we like stick and stuck, because stuck and stay. Because it's just like, who's starting over? Like, who's going through all that again? We have figured out so much. We have learned to navigate so much. We have overcome so much. Like, it really builds the bond when you walk through a valley together and get to the other side.
Mm-hmm. And
then 20 years later, you like, well, you know, the wildflower comes and, you know, we're like, oh, we'll be fine. We got through that last time. We'll be okay. Or you're just talking your way through it. Or, okay, what's the plan? Instead of this immediate anxiety or the shutdown or the coping, or the, you know, under the table, trying to make it work before the partner finds out, whatever you're doing. Like, you can get to a place where none of that nobody has the energy for that. And you don't want it. You reach a level of maturity where you're just like, okay, here we are. What are we doing? What's the plan? What do you need? What do you not need?
This is how I feel about it.
This is how I feel. Because one thing you're going to do is let me know how you feel. And 100%. If you don't feel heard,
100%.
You're going to keep revisiting it.
Very much so. And you have to do it. You have to do it. Your voice is the most important thing that you have.
Yes.
And on both sides. Because let me tell you, if somebody's going to be willing to hear the voice.
Talk about it. Talk about that now. Talk about that.
So it's very important that you all are comfortable hearing each other out. Good, bad, or ugly. It's vitally important to do so. That's just my small snippet.
Well, I better be the only one hearing your voice. You know I don't play them games.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I make sure my voice is heard. You hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I do, because you will not let me not hear you.
That's right. So I'm a very reserved guy until I'm not reserved.
Yes. Thank you for saying that out loud, Ben.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So when it's time to hear, let it be heard. He that has an ear, let him hear. But
it's important, though. It builds safety. Because what you don't want is an environment where your partner does not feel safe enough to come to you. And so these things are foundational to a marriage that thrives. And getting to our next part, which is the legacy of marriage. Like, you go through the trauma, you go through the process, you cultivate growth. That means you're pulling out the weeds. You are, making sure the soil, everything in the soil, the fertilizer, the nutrients, they're all there. Everything you need to bloom and blossom. You kind of figured that stuff out. So now you're just practicing. You learn and you do. You adapt, adjust, and repair. And then you learn and you do, and you keep going through that until you semi get it together. I ain't gonna say get it right, because it's always you reach one level and then there's gonna be another level of learning. You're forever a student of your spouse, because your spouse is a living, breathing, growing, evolving organism.
Yes.
I mean, it's like your spouse is, I don't know, I want to say never gonna be the same. Now, you have habits and traits that are similar, that are same. Like, there's certain things that are predictable, but as you grow and reach different milestones, you just evolve.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember when we got to a place with our businesses. I mean, the first part of the marriage, I've always been just kind of like a overly ambitious person, like maybe a workaholic of sorts. I can admit that. But especially in my earlier years, and you were a great support. A great support. You're still a great support. And so I come home with these random ideas, and you would be like, okay, think about this, consider that, da da da. And I'm like, okay, I got the idea. I got all the elements in place. The team is together. I'm ready. Let's move. And you were like, let's wait, or let's think, or helping me do all the random things I want to do, like put this whole set together, you know? And so it's just that. But then I remember we reached a place where you were like, okay, now it's time for me to build my own. And I was like, what you mean? Like, are we breaking up professionally? This is what we do. Like, we are the team. I mean, and I had this power couple mantra and belief so ingrained in my mind that it was really devastating.
Very devastating. Very.
But I understood because you had supported me for so long. It was your time. And then I'm like, you know what? Go, babe, go. Because now let me position myself to support you. Because I have been on the receiving end for so long. And you went, you built, you did your thing, and you came back.
It was so necessary. But again, it speaks to evolution and how we have to be different things to each other in different seasons.
Yes.
The seasons will produce a different element of yourself in that season.
Mm-hmm.
And as a couple, you have to be ready for that.
Yeah.
Because even in our seasons, we may not always be in the same season at the same time.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
So it's important to, and everything we talked about up until this point are the foundational pieces that help support a thing like mismatch seasons. Right? So
that's a word.
So as we came to that point where it was a time, you know, vocationally, career-wise, for us to say, you know what, I knew that, you know, I can't focus with the amount of time that I have. I can't split it 3 ways, right? So I knew that at this point, you know, I really got to pull back and focus on this. And it was important that I was able to communicate that to her, and not only communicate that to her, but be able to stand and then hear her frustrations, hear the pain, and then also understand the silence.
I didn't know silent. What you talking about?
You did.
What you mean?
Definitely was silent for a little bit. I'm
sorry.
Your silence is a little different. So silence meaning that if something was, you wouldn't say. And then, oh, but you can do your stuff.
Oh, I'm petty for real.
Yeah, so it was so you can actually talk. You can talk and be silent at the same time.
Yeah, you're right. Because I'm not saying anything of emotional value.
Very much so. Very much so.
But I'm still playing a game and expecting you to figure out that I'm irritated with you and I'm mad. I was like, what's wrong?
Yeah, and you know,
you were not going to do that.
I'm not about to do that.
No.
So again, with as it relates to seasons and these foundational pieces, identifying those marriage killers, those weeds, the wildflowers, and building up to a point where, because I know all of this, I can handle that better.
My gosh.
And that's where we are now. We're in a point where seasons, we can manage seasons better together. And it's a very important element. And then understanding our needs, the needs, what feeds you, what energizes you. not just individually, but even as a couple. Like when do you get away?
Yes, please.
When do you take that time to say, you know what, it just needs to be me and you for a minute. We don't have to focus on bills, kids, business. Just be.
Just be.
What is it? Like, I know for Gwen that nature is one of her things. So I know I can just take her out in the woods and she's
I'm so happy. I'll be so happy.
Oh my gosh. You know, so it's understanding those type of things.
You don't even like nature. You do not like to be outside. Go ahead and tell the people.
I can't be outside. It's not that I don't like it. It depends on if it's extremely hot. Where are we? What is the threat level? Because then I'm going to have to be on high alert. Because, you have to run out.
I wanted to climb that mountain.
Yes.
That one time.
You did. Yeah.
Anyway.
With the wrong shoes on.
But yes. It's important. Because this is how you go through the process and then you get to the harvest. And now that we're in harvest time, I'm so grateful because I thought about this the other day, like, thank God I didn't leave during the traumas, during the traumatic season of our marriage. Like, thank God I stayed, because had I left, I never would have seen this day. Mm-hmm. And the things that we were struggling with, we didn't know any better. We couldn't do better. We didn't know any better. And honestly, it's not that we didn't have any examples. It's just that we just didn't know who to latch on to as a guide, and which is why we're so passionate about the work that we do now. But I'm just so grateful that I stayed. Like, that financial hardship was not worth missing out on what we have today. And I mean, again, you're kind of nicer.
You think I was mean?
Stubborn. And you would shut down pretty bad in the beginning. Like, you would shut down and you would just kind of go into yourself. Mm-hmm. And you lived there. And I couldn't get in, and I was sad. It's a lonely place. You can be married and still feel alone.
Pretty much so.
It was a lonely place. And then you have to be careful because you find yourself latching on to the kids. Because they love you back for a season. And it's not that you did. Because them things will turn on you too. But
they will.
But it's just, you find yourself latching on, looking for that connection when you really just need to be sharing and trying and doing and adjusting and repairing and communicating with your spouse. So harvest time can and will come, but you definitely got to do your work, and you have to really, I don't know, I'm not a farmer, but like you got to till the land. Yeah. Like,
you do the work and you have to keep doing the work.
Always.
Yeah. That is why we didn't tell them what we got.
Well, that's the grand finale. Are we ready?
Are you ready? Okay.
Okay. So, we need drums. So, we got ourselves
for our
anniversary. For 20 years, we got ourselves the most amazing gift. Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. The gift that we got each other for our 20th anniversary was, you want to say it? Marriage counseling.
And I know people might be thinking, what? But it is probably one of the
For the last 6 months, we've been in marriage counseling.
One of the best tools that you can get as a couple. And here's why.
If you got a good counselor.
If you have and we have a great counselor. Mm-hmm. You get to a point in marriage where you get things figured out. Like, you know what, we're at a place, feel like they got things figured out. But then, like even Gwen said, you get to the next level, or it's the new season. And what better way to navigate that season well than by having someone to aid and assist? Like, we talked about the missteps that we had. We talked about not knowing who to latch on to. We talked about trying to figure it out ourselves. But now that we're older, we're wiser.
Yes.
And because we're wiser, we understand that, you know what? Sometimes we need somebody to come in between and help us look from a different perspective.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a mediator.
Yeah.
Because we are both very strongly opinionated people. And real talk, we just need a mediator. And the thing when you are in harvest season, harvest time, that you have to guard against is complacency and contentment.
Mm-hmm.
Where you are so comfortable with your spouse, you know they're not going anywhere. And, you know, again, you could kind of just become settled in the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not good. You know, that's not good. So we're entering a new season, right? Our marriage has been kid heavy since month 5. You know, like we have been raising kids for a long time.
18.
We've been raising kids for a long time. But, you know, who are we outside of parenting? We're about to have an empty house. We're about to be empty nesters. Mm-hmm. Our boy is 17 this year. He's a junior. So our last child is going to be a senior next year. So it's important that we are solid and that any cracks and holes and nooks and crannies are exposed. Because, I mean, you just don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Say it again.
Can't say it again. And then when we made a decision to go, we learned so much because she asks different questions. So she asked questions that I just wouldn't have asked or wouldn't have even known to ask. So when she asked those questions, now I'm getting new stories. I mean, I'm getting things that I have not heard in ages, in 20 years, never, not even in dating. And I'm like, what? Things about his childhood, things about, you know, his fears, things about his heart, things about his pains, things about his insecurities, because she's bringing that out of him as we talk about his inner child. And then, I mean, I know the first session, we were tore a slam up. Both of us was in there crying. We was tore up because we just really realized, first of all, kind of how we were unintentionally harming each other, and we just were like, I'm so sorry, I didn't want to hurt you like that. I didn't want to do that to you. But these patterns and these habits that we had, such as, you know, me shutting down, or when you go quiet and not deal with confrontation, or if I'm heated and you're just kind of like, I'm going to let you calm down and then I'll be back. And I'm like, oh, but you left. So that leaving me reminded me of where my mom would leave me, when that disconnection with her, when, you know, there was a conflict or confrontation. So, you know, that abandonment, like the way it was elevating was the result of the feeling of abandonment. My inner child feeling abandoned and scared because, you know, you took a break so that I could calm down and we could talk. But that doesn't work for me. And now we know why. So it's not even like things were bad, but it was just like, just processing all of that through a different lens, through the lens of your younger self and your inner child and what that individual needs. And even with you traveling, being military, and even being the biggest guy in the room, like I never thought about all that. So go ahead, I'm telling you a business. You can talk.
That's right. You're right.
So what did you learn?
About you pretty much went into it with the whole shutdown and I'll tell you the biggest thing that I learned about myself, because there's certain questions that you never really ponder until you're asked.
Yeah.
So
counselors are good at that.
Yeah. So with me, one of the reasons why conflict is something that I shy away from initially is because I am always, like you said, the biggest person, 6'6", African American male. 200 plus pounds. So I was always the one that people looked at as in, that's a big guy, right? So I have to position myself in a way that's non-threatening, or I just pull back because I understand that, number one, just my presence, number two, my voice, number three, my words can be harmful if not very carefully orchestrated. So for that reason, I just reserve my words, right? But
like straight like that.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. But I never realized that that was a process that I mentally gone through. I never verbalized it. Mm-hmm. Never really considered how and why that was. So, and in those sessions, it kind of helped me understand that at the end of the day, this may seem harsh. However,
brace yourself.
Yeah, brace yourself on this. So at the end of the day, I was holding back words because I didn't want to harm her. But what I was saying was, I didn't think she can handle what would come from me. Mm-hmm. So in essence, now I'm choosing to hold back from her, and I'm not giving her the opportunity to choose.
Took away my choice.
So, in essence, it's selfish, and it's almost like you're taking a God stance. All this stuff is like very next level, because we're like, what? Wow, okay, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, you really went from here to like.
Yeah, I'm taking the power away from her. So now, it's one of those things where, in that moment, understanding that thing, now I'm having to let go of the reins a little bit. So now when she talks about voice, like hearing my voice, and that's why, because now I'm okay. I gotta let you have. You let me know when it's too much.
You be careful what you pray for, child.
You let me know when it's too much, because I've held back and had to deeply process for many, many years. But now I have to trust that you can handle, and that you will let me know if this is harmful. And again, it's nothing. I'm never going to say anything out of the way, but it's about those moments of deep feeling where
passion too. So you thought you were protecting me, but it was actually killing me.
Right, because she had already, and it was counterintuitive. It was so awesome. I don't know, we're going into a whole other vein here, but it was counterintuitive because my pullback was protection, but for her, my pullback was elimination, like isolation.
Trigger.
And it was a trigger for her because of her mom, and I didn't know that in that way.
Bro, when I tell you we was booing,
I'm like, wait a minute.
This just the first session. We just got here.
Like, wait a minute, that hurt you? Like, you was hurt?
We never looked at it through the lens of, you are harming me.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like,
it was really crazy.
Because we never let ourselves really go there emotionally.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, okay, this is what we do. This is how he handles this and that, X, Y, and Z. Since he just got a process, or she just needs time to calm down, she'll come back around. Like, we had already assigned these like roles and labels and personalities to each other, and we didn't even really ask permission or to find out if that was even true. We never inspected it.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't know what you need inspected,
and that's why
you don't know what you need to know until you know it.
Yeah, I told you I couldn't say it again.
But you said that's what I'm here for.
And that's why we needed that middle ground, because you know what? You need somebody to check your blind spots. Mm-hmm. And every marriage has blind spots. And now, our blind spots have been exposed. And it's an ongoing thing. We're going to keep at it. It wasn't super comfortable sitting on the other side of the table. Let's just be honest. Being on the other side, being in the chair, it was weird. And I have much more compassion for, those that we mentor and support. Because it's not an easy thing. And also it's kind of like, I'm a skeptic. You the one you were all ready for it. I'm like, well, lady, there's no way I can, this is 20 years. There's no way I can summarize it in 50 minutes. Like, so you won't ever have full context. So I'm already overthinking this whole thing and ready to turn her off.
Yes, you were.
So I had to go in with an open mind, but the things and the thoughts that, people we support might be facing. I really have a heart for, those that we serve now even more because as a result of this process. And it has really revolutionized, I feel like, the questions that I'll ask, the way that I'll approach, and just perhaps even the, entitlement and I would say slight arrogance that I might have kind of unknowingly went into each session with, because marriage is hard, but it doesn't have to be hard forever. Like, and when you really change your mindset towards it, it's really just growing pains. And it's really just leveling up to the next stage. When you play a video game, each stage does get a little bit harder. But you have to get a little bit better and stronger and wiser and mature. And, you got to get, what is it? Oh, okay, I'm not even going to go to details because I'm not a gamer for real. But you really have to get to a place where, you can handle what's on the next level. So that level that you're surviving, the level that you're on, the level that you're learning from, I don't even want to say surviving, the level that you're growing through is prepping you and giving you the tools and equipping you for whatever you need to make it and begin to climb on the next level. Mm-hmm. So we're growing, but we're doing it together. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of the thing. So we're not at odds. We're not working against each other. We're working with each other. That in itself is the harvest.
That's the harvest.
That is the harvest. So happy 20th anniversary, babe. We made it. 20 years, my guy. 20 whole years. All right. This was the grand opening of season 2. I hope that this has been impactful. I hope it's been inspiring. And I pray that you share some takeaways. Like, subscribe, because you don't want to miss what's happening the rest of season 2. We have got so much good stuff in store for season 2. Season 2 is so special to me. And the podcast is called With Love, Gwen. And I don't think I ever told you all why. So, to me, there's something special about a handwritten letter. I don't know if anybody ever wrote you letters. You were military. I don't know if you got letters.
Pen pals. Pen pals.
We had pen pals. And I mean, I know my grandfather, when he had throat cancer. And so he couldn't talk, but he would write. So he wrote his letters all the time. With my very best friend, what up, help, my girl. She went to the military. She wrote me letters. I still have those letters. And so it's something about a handwritten letter. So in these episodes, this is like my letter to you. Like, this is my letter that I've crafted, and it's for you, just trying to inspire, encourage, and empower you and connect with you. So at the end of each episode of season 2, I have a letter from my very special guest that I will read. So, Bae.
Got him.
Dear Bae. Wow, what an adventure. 20 years of tending, pruning, and cultivating, and now it's harvest time. Looking back at all we've been through, I'd still choose you. I couldn't have asked for a better father for our children, a better partner to build, grow, and even fail with, and I can honestly say I'd do it all over again with you. Thank you for being consistent. Thank you for enduring. Thank you for still choosing me through better or worse. What I love most about you is your heart. What I admire most is your willingness to try. So many times you have been the fertilizer in our soil, causing our garden to flourish. Even on our worst days, walking away was never an option for you. I'll never forget your words. Divorce is not an option. With total transparency, you and Jesus are the only reason we are blessed to see this day. All I can say is thank you. I'm so incredibly grateful. I am the yin, you're the yang, and together we are unstoppable. I love you and eagerly anticipate all that's ahead for us. With love, Gwen.
Gwen. Oh.
Oh, babe.
Yeah. What a surprise.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.